it's not just the role of BAs and technical people. It's now a part of every owner, of every person to actually add their value in this process mapping.
Welcome to Process Pioneers, the show that takes a deep dive into the minds of decision makers, key influencers, and process experts who are pioneering the world of everything process.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Process Pioneers. Today I have the absolute privilege of sitting down with Denis Aksenov. Denis has a quite an interesting career covering a number of different countries, including Russia. I believe you spent some time in Vietnam, and now you're here in New Zealand. And so I'm really excited about today's interview. Denis, maybe to get started, I'll pass the ball to you. And if you want to talk to us a little bit about your history and your timeline and how you originally got into the whole world of business process management, and then a brief timeline leading up to where you are today.
Yeah, cool. Hello. Thanks for this opportunity to talk about the interesting things I'm really passionate about. Actually, I started my career as a software developer, as many of us who kind of now doing all this process-related activities and managing processes. Right. And from that time, from being it was back in year 2000. Actually, we started looking as a software developers, as a BA, started looking at the tools, how we can better describe the processes and how we can better, more visually explain what's going on within this or that business. And even that years we used, you can remember what was the tool, Erwin and BPWin. Yeah, those tools, as I know, Erwin exists till now. I don't know what's that now, but anyway. And actually, even that time, the visual representation of the processes was a good language to share the knowledge among different departments, between IT and business, among ours. But we never thought about the process management as a part of the corporate culture. As a part which should be embedded in the entire processes, tactical, strategical, all the processes. We mostly use it as just a simple instrument to share the knowledge among the people involved in a particular process. Then I worked in different banks across Russia and Europe. And back in 2009, I came to the bank. It's the biggest bank in Russia and in Eastern Europe, called Sberbank. And actually, you started noticing that mapping the processes can be a crucial part in order to manage those processes across organization. Believe me or not, the bank is serving 100 million customers, more than this, in Russia and Eastern Europe. And the need of standardizing the processes, it's a factory. It's not just a bank. You need to train your employees to follow particular rules. To train something, you should document this something. And back in 2009, we actually started all the work on the improvements of customer service from mapping the processes, understanding. And we used Visio at that time. Yeah, it's kind of only thing which was available that time for us, but we have no ability to share this process. So the sharing of this process was just a kind of somebody was mapping, another person was looking, another was discussing, and everything was around one file emailed around the bank. So, and actually it was good. We have in addition to our operational practice, we have banking technology department who made a great job. Actually, they collected all this processes of sub-processes. They mapped into the process library and actually made possible for everybody in the bank to see processes from end to end. All the customer, end to end, from customer to customer, for all the stages within the back office, front office, middle office, all and everything. And then some years later, Then I came back to this bank in a different role, an operational risk manager role. It was absolutely great. So something happens, operational risk, incident. You need to understand who is responsible for particular part to return back to these people. And it's perfect library. You see the process end to end. You see, okay, this particular department and this person in department, this role in department is responsible for process, means you need to discuss with these people. It's absolutely great. Then in Vietnam, it was slightly different stories. Anyway, we mostly use, again, it's for documentation and actually for training people, for training new employee how to use new solutions. So it was a combination of the process map plus instruction underneath this. And here in Gallagher, what we've done, actually, we started using the platform for socialization of the processes, not just to map process, but to link all the documents or link all the job description, process instructions, standard operational procedure under the process activities. So for faster onboarding people. And actually, so the journey was from the point we just needed to document business requirements into the point it is embedded in the process, in the culture, it's embedded in the core activity. And actually, it's not just the role of BAs and technical people. It's now a part of every owner, of every person to actually add their value in this process mapping and process management processes.
Yes, yeah. So obviously there'll be people listening right now that they'd be hearing. I guess you've mentioned a couple of different. I guess the return or the value on managing and documenting your processes. But for someone that maybe process management isn't a focus of their organization, how would you describe or how would you define business process management? Obviously, there are a lot of definitions out there, but for someone listening, how would you define BPM to them?
For me, business process management is a part of the core activities of enterprise, which is actually aimed to understand, share, and improve the ways company operates. And it's business process management. It's everything about the standards, how the company deliver the value to the customer. So it's a complex. It's a culture. So how people treat the processes, how people actually respect what we do, and follow the rules within organization. Plus, it's a culture of keeping this knowledge structured and available for everybody in the company. It could be a manager on a high level who want to understand what's happening on the ground, to go into Gemba, so-called. Or it could be a newbie, complete newbie who come to their place and actually need something, not somebody who will tell something like, okay, somebody told me we should do it this way. It's more about the culture of sharing the real knowledge, the real truth. Sorry for this Americanism, real truth about the processes with the people. So it's a core activity of the company. It's understanding of the ways how we deal with things, how we deliver value, how we act and breathe every day.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. And you've already touched on this, but in your introduction there, but who should care about business process management? I mean, you mentioned that it's not just for the IT people, it's not just for the technical people, it's for everyone. But I guess let's talk to that a little bit more, that who should value having documented processes, and why is it of value, and why should the different people within an organization value that?
I think the ownership around this and the respect to the business process culture, business process management culture, should start from the very top of the organization. The people should understand if they have the processes described, and if they do all they need to do in a proper way and most efficient way. It should scale down to the next level of the people who are operating on the process, who are actually making this value. They should understand, okay, it's clear for all my subordinates, it's clear for my management, it has indicators behind this of the health of production indicators, any KPIs, any process metrics. And it should go down to the particular employee who is doing things. This person should understand, okay, I have this description of what should I do, what I should do, and it's the fact what's going on. If I see any discrepancy, I should understand, okay, next step, I should go to the process owner or to my managers and shout, okay, it's not how we do things. So that's why I think it's not just the role of the people, of BAs, of the process owner, of business process managers in organization. It's a cross organizational role, and to keep and maintain it live and up to date, it should be embedded in everything, in everything. Managerial activity, people on the management level should understand how clear their processes are. They should see the indicators of the health of particular processes. Definitely, they've drilled down not on the understanding how a particular person, making this particular cog and how well is it produced. But understand that everything is good in the machinery part of the company. It should be clear. And to be comfortable, those people need to understand, okay, everything behind them is structured, standardized, and functioning as it designed.
Yes. And let's talk about the quality of process versus the process of quality. Business process management and quality management. Let's talk about those different things and how they work together. Talk to me a bit about that.
It's an interesting point that I faced in one organization. I'll better not say the name of this company. The quality process, it was production company, so quality processes were embedded into the process, and they have some metrics. I'm not saying they use Six Sigma, but anyway, pretty close. They measured the uptime of the machines. They measure the amount of the defective parts from this. But interestingly, when we started discussing, okay, you're getting all these figures, what are you doing? Oh, we are going back to the particular person and asking them and training them, training. It's okay, but at the same time, do you really understand the problem exists on there? So they measured the quality on the end of the process. And do you really understand, is everything okay in your processes around this?
Right.
If you're just measuring the quality of the final product, I said, okay, now we have some intermediary stages. But when we started looking at the processes behind this, we realized that processes are not well defined. And more than this, they have multiple places they store these process descriptions.
Right.
The people on the ground use different instructions, and nobody actually looked at the process end to end and look how those instructions are working, coexisting together. So we have an instruction, for creating the, what's to take more, not that detailed for this business. Okay, if for example, they were assembling the engine, the instruction of assembling the engine doesn't contradict with instruction how to build the frame for a car. Mm-hmm. And nobody actually looked at this. Yes, they run through the process, they check everything is okay, but nobody actually checked that instructions are well aligned. And improvements, they were looking a lot about the all the Kaizen things, all the continuous improvements, leaning processes. They never looked how they lean the instructions. So they have plenty of processes which were working pretty good, but not documented. And once somebody wanted to automate a particular process, or extract the metrics from a process. Those people every time would need to go down to the factory and ask the people, what exactly are you doing? How are you doing this? Documenting all this, presenting to IT. IT would implement something, and in 3 months, the something would obsolete because somebody would update the process.
Right.
And the quality could be, you can reach absolutely great figures in the quality level. But at the same time, all around this processes can be complete crap. Around production. But to manage this production, you exactly need the metrics on the upper level.
Yes.
So, but to get this metrics, you need to understand what the process is.
Yes.
So those processes are interdependent, but the false feeling of comfort, I think it's a main threat for all the process management.
And then once you can get those metrics, then you're able to make those incremental improvements or those radical innovations.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, it's a good thing if you have similar but different product lines of businesses who are doing the same thing. Actually, quite often, different businesses who are doing the similar processes, reinventing the wheel each other. So instead of actually going back to instructions and looking at the process and, our neighbors are doing this in this perfect way, they already learned the process. Let's adopt this. And this should be also embedded. That's why the documentation and the process management should be a part of the culture. So
yes.
not doing everything from scratch every time. Try to use. So be lazy person. First, look what ours are doing instead of reinventing the wheel. It's cheaper.
Yes.
From an energy consumption point of view.
Yeah, that's right. So if we're talking about process governance now, obviously that ties in with quality, making sure that you have quality processes. How would you talk to about control versus liberty? Some people would look at that process governance slowing things down, and other people would look at that it creates freedom. Talk to us a little bit about that.
First of all, I think personally I like RACI metrics. The understanding who is responsible and who owns the particular activity and who is getting the fresh information about something being updated is critical. And once everybody can sit together. So RACI is not just a thing which should be acquired from somewhere outside the company, put on a table and said, okay, from tomorrow we're doing this. The people should develop this RACI metrics for a process management themselves. So it can't be just the process owners who are nominated in each business and said, you person, you're responsible for these things. And from tomorrow you're doing this. And we will blame you on everything. And actually it creates a fear, but at the same time, it absolutely discredited the idea of ownership. So business process owners, they are not owners of everything. They are owners of knowledge. And they are person who actually coach ours, mentor us how to manage processes, rather than just sitting, documenting everything every day and asking somebody to help me with something and constantly being refused of. So for me, this RACI matrix, it's a corporate exercise that should be done by everybody. And everybody understands what's the role of a sponsor or business manager, executive responsible for business. What's the role of operational manager? What's the role of business process owner? What's the role of a particular subject matter expert? What are the roles of IT people? Who will be informed and who will own particular parts of this exercise? Once it's built on the way in the workshops, within the workshops, it is shared. So we build it together. Once it's shared, it will be just a part of the duties, normal parts. We decide it, we do it, and nobody would actually look at the process management as a set of restrictions, set of limitations. People will look at this as a quite organic part, and actually the best practice in this organization, how to manage processes and how to manage new activities.
Right. No, that sounds good. And for someone listening right now that might be a bit of a BPM champion within their organization, but maybe they're struggling to get buy-in from senior management or buy-in from the key decision makers or key stakeholders, what would you, or what would you equip them with, or what would you say to them to help them pitch this idea of process documentation to that level that ultimately has the deciding power?
First of all, people who are going to implement business process management or organization should discuss all this one by one with all the I would say it sounds a bit weird, but anyway, all the stakeholders in an organization. You shouldn't only discuss it with top managers of organizations saying, okay, the process management will cool, it will increase our ROI by X% and et cetera, et cetera. You should get the understanding and you should get buy-in from people on the different levels of the organization. Because you rely, using the business process owner and the person who actually owns this business process of business process management, this governance should rely on experience on the all people. So you should start talking with everybody, understanding their needs, and actually it will be your perfect business case. Okay, this people on the factory needs the training mechanism to onboard new people. Those people in IT require the definition of their processes to understand dependency or to create, I don't know, test cases, test scenario for a system. Those people in brand need to have an ability to link job description into the processes and understand how relevant and how actual and how real their job descriptions are. You're getting all this sets of business requirements, you're building business case. And you're not just implementing something artificial for people, you're selling them the solution for their particular problems.
Right.
So that's why from your personal kind of enterprise and your personal fight against the organization in terms of the shared approach. And it's easy. Then once you get in this, during an interview, you're actually getting the list of change agents with people who will implement the system in different parts of your organization. You're creating this list, you understand it, the key stakeholders are wanting for this. And actually it will help you later when you're selecting the particular solution to create the selection matrix. And nobody will tell you, okay, better pick the solution 1 or solution 2 or solution 3. You will have a list of requirements, and actually you can easily share the system, the demo version of the system with people, tell them, okay, look at this, here are the set of your requirements, check how good it fits. And you're getting the army of the people who are already baptized into this BPM religion.
Yes. And I've been speaking with some organizations that their focus is very much on, I guess, an agile approach or an agile methodology. There's almost this, or it feels like there's this resistance towards process management because I guess in some ways it might look like the opposite of the agile mindset, I guess you could say. But talk to us about that, how you see the agile and process working together, and how they best work together.
First of all, for me, agile is nothing about chaos. It's about structure of work. It's about autonomy and ownership. So the concept of business process management, it's a concept of business process ownership, and developing this part and working on a particular part of the processes in a small teams, in squads, or how you call it in different organizations, how people call it, where squad is actually developing the small part of the process. But at the same time, the small part of the process, I have my kid in the background. It's funny, I need to sit somewhere. You'll cut this. It's a kind of tradition these days to oh, sorry. And actually, these people need to understand, okay, we are building something, but this something should fit into the entire process of the customer, from customer to customer. It's not just, we are not building something absolutely autonomous. Team is autonomous, but the team should be empowered and enabled with all possible ways of understanding the world around them. So yes, it's hard, it takes time, but Agile Manifesto doesn't say anything about stop documenting everything, abandon everything, just deliver something. Agile is a way to deliver the products as fast as possible. So you want to deliver, you want to deliver new functionality, new features to your customer tomorrow. But how you train your team? The development team can develop it in 2 sprints, 4 weeks, for example. But what's next? How are you going to share it? How are you going to deliver all this? Some of the tools offer even the ability to map a user journey or customer journey and be perfect instrument for mapping all the design thinking stories. Again, it's very popular in the Agile world, and you use the tool for this.
Yes, yeah.
So that's why Agile is, and the last thing, but not least in Agile, Agile was created to eliminate waste.
Yes, right.
If your team, Agile team, every time they automate the particular part of their end-to-end process, will spend 2 sprints just documenting what's going on, actually it's exactly waste.
True. That's right. And one other thought that I'd love to get your perspective on is obviously in today's climate, we're obviously the world's navigating the coronavirus, COVID-19, and it's disrupting a lot of businesses. For some businesses, it's playing into their advantage, but for others, it's sinking them, and for other businesses, they're business process management has jumped to the top of their priority because all of a sudden everyone's working from their own individual offices, from their own individual homes, and management need to know, well, what are they all doing? As you're talking about, I think we touched on it before we got started in the interview, but maybe talk to us a little bit about, I guess, what you're seeing with this, I guess, the new climate, and how businesses can use process management to navigate this season well.
I remember back in 2008 and 9, it was a crisis in Russia at that time, and I started working for biggest bank in Russia again. It was Sberbank. And what we started doing that time, it was a crisis. But instead of sitting and waiting for a miracle of government support or something else, we started looking at our processes. We started using this time of crisis. Again, you have a lower customer activity, your production are not that serious, they're overloaded, and our people in operations are not kind of saving the world this time, doing their job. Actually, it's a perfect opportunity to stop, breathe, and think about what you do. Right. And in that bank, instead of kind of sitting and waiting for something, we started actually mapping our processes. We had an opportunity to reach almost everybody because the consumer activities was pretty low. We had an opportunity to reach each and every person and ask them how we work. And actually, it was even simpler for us at the time to discuss with customers what they expect from us. And remote services, it was a perfect opportunity to start looking at how our processes can be automated, simplified, and delivered in a remote way. Because that time it was not about isolation, it was about cost reduction. And again, remote services. Plus, interesting thing, when you have people sitting at home and doing their job, are you 100% sure they are doing this job as they should do it? They have all the instruction and process map they should follow, or they just texting each other asking, okay, how I should do it. Can you remember something? At least you as a manager, when you sit in the office, you can hear it and somehow correct this behavior, but interfere in this. But if you see people, I'm afraid for some of our companies, the month after we return back to work will be fixing mistakes made during coronavirus lockdown. And that's why I think all the crises, it's a perfect opportunity again to stop, breathe, think, act. Absolutely.
That's amazing. That's great.
I just noticed one interesting thing. We have a IKEA kids kitchen on the back. And actually what's perfect about IKEA, so regardless of a place of the world you buy this, you buy the same kitchen, and the instruction, the process will be pretty concise, detailed, and you have all the instruments, all the components, parts perfectly packed and detailed. So those companies, they realized that actually if they do this way, they can significantly reduce customer service. They significantly reduce the cost of support.
Right.
Not many people calling them and asking, and what? And I don't get, I don't know, another nut or bolt. Actually, that's why the processes, well-detailed processes, help you to actually reduce the cost of customer service and focus on more value-adding activity, on more sales, working with customers, not on their problems, but on the opportunities rather than issues.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And for someone that's listening right now, that they've obviously learned a lot from you, or they're gleaning a lot from you over the last half hour. But obviously in 30 minutes, you can only cover so very little. Where would you, if someone wanted to learn more about, I guess, the different ideas and concepts that you've been talking about, where should someone go to learn a little bit more? Is there, are there certain reports or books or key influences in the space that you would recommend, or where would you encourage someone to go to, I guess, learn a little bit more about the world of business process management?
I think, first of all, a lot of books from the people who started following Peter Drucker years ago in Japan and America wrote a lot of books about lean. All of this was around how to document processes, how to improve those processes. I think back to basics is this. But what I noticed now, the vendors who sell different solutions for BPM are the perfect source of the knowledge about this. Because what they are trying to sell, actually, they are not trying to sell you a particular solution. They are trying to sell you the entire culture. And that's why go to websites, browse, I don't know, dozen of different sites, and look how they done. You'll see a lot of cases, a lot of examples of different, from different industries. Don't treat them as an advertisement. Look at this, it's example of real people. Kind of knowledge of software vendors are actually now very good, and understanding of business processes are absolutely great. Then, I don't know, go to IKEA, look how they do things.
That sounds great. So, guys, thanks for joining us in this interview. I'm sure you've been able to glean a lot from what Denis has been talking about. Obviously, Denis is on LinkedIn, and if there is anything, if he sparked some ideas in your head and you want to learn a little bit more, I'm sure Denis will be more than happy to connect with you on LinkedIn and to talk to you about any ideas or things that you want to float past him. But Denis, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute privilege being able to talk to you and get to glean from all the wisdom that you have, I guess, gathered over your career.
Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, Guy. Please don't be shy. Start mapping your processes right now.